Hey listeners, welcome to English Made Simple.
We are so incredibly glad you are here with us today.
Here is the major struggle for so many of you listening. You have absolutely no one to practice with.
None. Zero speaking partners.
Exactly. You do not have English-speaking friends. Maybe you do not live in an English-speaking country. Your daily environment at home or, at work, it simply does not require you to speak the language out loud.
And when you are trapped in that environment, it is incredibly easy to feel stuck.
So stuck.
You study every single day on your apps, you read your books, but you feel like you are not moving forward at all. And worse, you start to lose your confidence.
You really do.
You look in the mirror and you just think, how can I ever speak this language well if there's nobody here to talk to?
It feels incredibly lonely. And you might think that studying solo, like sitting alone in your bedroom, is a dead end. But if you are listening to our voices right now, I want you to know something very, very important.
Yes, please listen to this part.
Studying completely by yourself is a proven, valid, and highly effective path to fluency.
100%.
You do not need a speaking partner to make amazing progress. You just need the right techniques to exercise those speaking muscles alone.
And that is the specific mission of our deep dive today. We're going to explore 5 highly effective ways to learn, to improve, and to exercise your English-speaking muscles completely on your own.
Right, from your own bedroom.
Exactly. You can do this right in your own home, even if you do not have a teacher, and even if you do not have a single speaking partner to help you.
And we're going to take this nice and slow today. We really want to emphasize that. Think of this deep dive as an immersive English practice session.
A safe space to practice.
Right. We want you to feel relaxed. We want you to really absorb these methods, and we are going to practice them together. So make yourself comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's start exercising.
So before you can build your own complex sentences from scratch, it really helps to copy the masters.
Right. You need a model to follow.
Exactly. You need a model. So the first method we are going to explore is something linguists call shadowing.
Shadowing, like a shadow on the ground that follows a person everywhere they go, right? Mirroring their every move.
That is a perfect way to describe it. You might also hear it called mimicking, or simply listening and repeating.
Listening and repeating, okay.
The process is wonderfully simple, but the science behind why it works is really powerful.
So how does it actually work? Break it down for us.
Sure. So you find a video or an audio recording, or even a scene from a movie. You press play. You listen very, very closely to what the speaker says. Then you press pause. You rewind it. And you repeat exactly what they just said.
Just trying to match their voice completely.
Yes, exactly.
Let's unpack the mechanics of this, because it reminds me of learning how to dance.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
Right, because when you learn a complicated dance, you do not just sit in a chair and read a book about dancing. You stand up, you watch someone else's feet, and you try to physically copy their exact steps with your own body.
And with shadowing, you are copying their steps, but you are doing it with your vocal cords, your tongue, and your lips.
Ah, physical movement.
Yes. And when you shadow, you are not just repeating the vocabulary words like a robot. You must focus deeply on the intonation.
Intonation, let's define that. For our listeners, that means the music of the language.
Yeah.
It is paying attention to whether the speaker's voice goes up in pitch or whether the voice goes down in pitch at the end of a specific sentence.
Right, because that brings up this auditory feedback loop in your brain. When you mimic the rhythm and the melody of a native speaker, your brain is actively comparing the sound coming out of your mouth to the perfect sound you just heard on the recording.
Oh, wait, I have to bring up a very practical pushback here. I know a lot of our listeners are probably thinking this exact thing right now.
Okay, what is it?
How do you know if you are actually doing it right? I mean, if you are sitting completely alone in your room and you mispronounce a word, nobody is there to correct your mistake.
Right.
Are you just practicing your mistakes over and over again?
That is such a valid concern. But here is where that auditory feedback loop really saves you. Your goal is to emulate a specific role model.
Overall model.
Yeah, you choose someone whose voice and pronunciation you actually want to sound like. Because you are constantly, immediately comparing your voice to their perfect recording, your brain naturally self-corrects.
Oh, I see.
You do not need a teacher in the room because the recording is the teacher. You hear their voice, you hear your voice, and you slowly adjust the physical shape of your mouth until the sounds match.
So you are training your ear to hear the mistake and your mouth to fix it at the exact same time.
Precisely.
That is amazing. Well, let's actually put this into practice right now. Listeners, we want you to practice with us. I am going to say a simple English sentence.
Nice and slow.
Nice and slow. I will say it slowly, and then I will leave a long pause. During that pause, I want you to repeat the sentence out loud, wherever you are. Okay?
Do not be shy.
Right. Do not be shy. Here we go. I am practicing my English today.
Okay, let's analyze the end of that sentence before we repeat it again. Notice the word practicing.
Practicing?
Many learners want to say practicing, ending with a hard N sound. But it is an NG sound.
Right. That tricky NG.
The back of your tongue needs to raise up and touch the roof of your mouth.
Practicing. Practicing.
Let's try the whole sentence again. Focus on that ending sound and notice how the voice goes down at the very end of the sentence.
Listen closely and repeat after me. I am practicing my English today.
Take a breath. Let's do it one more time. Speak clearly and confidently into your room.
I am practicing my English today.
Great job. That physical movement you just did, that is shadowing. You pause, you listen, you analyze, and you repeat.
It feels good to actually speak, doesn't it? But, shadowing has its limits.
It does.
It is fantastic for mimicking sounds and building muscle memory. But when you shadow, you are really just echoing what someone else said. It does not necessarily teach you how the language is built.
No, it doesn't.
To actually see the architecture of English, to really understand the grammar, we have to move to our second method.
Which is reading out loud.
Reading out loud. So this means taking a physical book or an article or even just a short paragraph on your computer screen and reading the words using your vocal cord.
Right, not just reading silently in your head.
Exactly. And why does this work?
The neurological mechanism behind why this helps fluency is absolutely fascinating. When you read silently, your brain is incredibly efficient. It just rushes forward.
It skips things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your eyes skip over all the small grammar words, the articles and the prepositions. You just absorb the general meaning.
Right. You get the gist of it.
But when you force yourself to read out loud, you physically cannot skip those words. It forces your brain to slow down.
You literally have to process every single syllable. You have to practice decoding the words and moving your mouth to form them.
And that creates entirely new memory pathways. Because you are speaking slowly, you start noticing the structure.
You really see the grammar.
Yes. You look at a sentence and you think, look at how the past tense is being used here. Or, so that is how that specific preposition fits next to that verb.
And you are training your mouth to speak correctly because the text in front of you is already perfectly structured English.
Exactly. You are feeding your brain perfect sentences and teaching your mouth what those perfect sentences actually feel like to say.
Let's use a real example for this. I was reading this philosophy book recently. It is called The Art of Living.
Oh, that was a great one.
It is written by an ancient philosopher named Epictetus. The advice is wonderful, and the English translation is just beautifully structured.
It is very clear.
It's very clear. There is a specific quote I want to use. It says, "Nothing truly stops you. Nothing truly holds you back. For your own will is always within your control."
Wow. That is a profound message for anyone trying to learn a language and feeling stuck.
It really is.
Let's use that first sentence for our next mini exercise. Listeners, we're going to break this down. Look at the word truly.
Truly.
It is spelled with a TR. But in spoken English, it often sounds a bit like a CH. Truly?
Ah, yes. Truly.
Truly. Let's try reading it together.
Okay, I will say the phrase slowly, and listeners, I want you to read it out loud into the room right after I finish. Pay attention to the muscles in your jaw as you say the word truly. Ready? Nothing truly stops you.
Excellent. Now the next part. Notice the breath required to say the H in the word holds.
Holds, like a little puff of air.
Yes, exactly.
Ready? Nothing truly holds you back.
When you enunciate those words out loud, you can physically feel how it exercises your vocal tract. Your tongue, your lips, your breath control. They were all getting a rigorous workout in English.
It is a physical exercise. And by the way, if you're enjoying this, subscribe to our channel for more English listening practice.
Yes, please do.
But let's keep moving. We have practiced mimicking with shadowing. We have practiced seeing the structure with reading out loud. But, reading gives you a script. Real life does not come with a script.
It definitely does not.
When you are out in the real world, you have to react to unpredictable situations. You have to generate your own sentences on the spot.
Which brings us to our third method. Visualizing real situations.
Visualize.
This is where you practice reacting, but you do it safely from your own living room.
I love this one. Visualizing means you actively imagine practical, everyday contexts where you need to use your English.
Yeah.
You put yourself entirely in that moment in your mind.
Yes. You picture the person in front of you, and you speak your side of the conversation out loud.
So it is kind of like a dress rehearsal for real life. You are preparing your brain for the performance. I actually do this sometimes when I want to practice.
Really? What do you do?
I will imagine I am standing in line at a busy coffee shop in New York. Or I will imagine I have to call a hotel. I will literally pace around my bedroom and practice saying things like, I would like to book a room for 2 nights, please.
That is so practical.
Or I will pretend I'm calling a clinic to make a doctor's appointment. I'd like to make an appointment for next Tuesday.
I will admit, I do this myself when I'm practicing French.
Oh, you do?
Oh, constantly. I will walk around my house talking directly to the walls.
Do the wall!
Yes, I will look at the blank wall in my kitchen and say out loud, "Un verre d'eau, s'il vous plaît," which means a glass of water, please.
I am always secretly hoping the wall will actually respond and bring me a glass of water.
That is so funny, talking to the walls. But I have to ask, does it trigger that feeling of panic when you first start doing it? I know speaking a foreign language can sometimes trigger this, like a mild fight or flight stress response in the brain.
Oh, it absolutely does, and that's exactly why it works. It feels very silly at first.
Very silly. But by visualizing the situation vividly, you are purposely triggering a tiny bit of that real-world stress. You're connecting the English vocabulary to a real-world feeling of pressure.
That makes so much sense.
By practicing under that mild imagined pressure, you inoculate yourself. You train your brain to stay calm so that when you actually are at a real coffee shop, you do not freeze up.
Because you have already lived the scenario 100 times in your bedroom.
Exactly.
Well, let's do a mini role play to practice this right now. Listeners, I want you to grab your phone. Seriously, pick up your actual mobile phone and hold it up to your ear.
Do it. I know it feels ridiculous, but physicalizing the action helps your brain believe the visualization.
You are calling a busy hotel in London. You need to book a room.
Let's look at the word reservation before we call. It is a long word. Reservation.
The syllables.
The main stress is on the vont syllable. Reservation. Reservation. Okay, hold the phone to your ear. Imagine it is ringing. Ring, ring. The receptionist answers the phone. Now, I will say the phrase slowly, and I want you to repeat it clearly into your phone. Ready? I'd like to make a reservation for 2 nights, please.
Keep the phone to your ear. Let's do it one more time, but this time, try to sound a little more confident. Take a deep breath.
I'd like to make a reservation for 2 nights, please.
Great job. You are putting the language into a real-world context.
It really works, but, visualizing gets you through logical, step-by-step transactions. It helps you buy coffee or book a room. What it lacks is the natural flowing rhythm of conversational English.
That is very true.
To capture that rhythm, we need to step away from conversation entirely and look at music.
Which brings us to method number 4, singing an English song.
Singing. Just putting on your favorite English music, reading the lyrics, and singing your heart out alone in your room. Yes. You find a song you genuinely enjoy, you study how the lyrics are put together, you memorize the words, and you sing along with the artist. It acts as an incredibly advanced rhythmic form of shadowing.
Now, I have to push back here just a little bit.
Go for it.
I understand that singing is fun. But when I sing a dramatic pop song, like an Adele song, I am stretching my vowels out for 5 seconds.
Ollie.
Exactly. If I walk into a grocery store and talk to the cashier like that, they are going to think I am completely crazy.
They probably would.
So how does belting out a pop melody translate to actual practical speaking fluency?
That is a very common skepticism. How does a melody help everyday speech? Well, first, on a purely physical level, singing builds incredible vocal cord stamina.
Stamina.
You are exercising the exact same muscles required for English vowel formation and consonant linking, but you are doing it with sustained breath control. It forces your mouth to smoothly link words together, which is crucial for sounding natural.
Oh, that makes sense. The linking.
Yes. But beyond the physical workout, music provides a massive linguistic benefit that regular speaking exercises simply cannot offer.
And what is that missing piece?
Deep exposure to the culture of the language. To truly master English, you cannot just memorize vocabulary lists from a textbook. A language is not a math equation.
It is not just rules?
Exactly. It is a living, breathing thing. You have to start living the language.
Ah, so music bypasses the logical brain and enters the emotional memory.
Precisely. Music is an essential vessel for culture. When you learn the songs that native speakers listen to, you naturally absorb their idioms. You learn their modern slang. You feel the emotions associated with certain phrases.
You stop looking at English as a puzzle to be solved and you start connecting with it on a human level.
Yes, on a very human level.
That makes perfect sense. You are absorbing the soul of the language. So, listeners, your homework is to put on your favorite English song today and sing it loud. Nobody is watching you. You are practicing entirely alone, so do not hold back.
Do not hold back at all. Which transitions us perfectly to our fifth and final method.
Okay, number 5.
Songs give you rhythm, and they give you cultural connection. But the melody is provided for you by the singer. What gives your everyday speaking real, authentic emotion when there is no backing track playing behind you.
That is the ultimate goal, right? You do not want to sound like a monotone robot when you talk. You do not want to stare blankly and say, I would like to Spain.
Exactly. Nobody talks like that.
You want to sound human, dynamic, and expressive.
This is why our fifth method is practicing poems and dramatic monologues.
Monologues, like speeches from a theater play or a movie?
Yes, the goal here is to find a piece of text that is highly dramatic and memorize it. This forces you to generate your own rhythm, your own intonation, and intense emotion entirely on your own.
We should talk about the psychological aspect of this too, because linguists often talk about the concept of the language ego.
Oh, the language ego, yes.
When you try to speak English as yourself, you feel incredibly vulnerable. Every mistake feels like a personal failure. But when you memorize a movie monologue, you are playing a character.
Exactly. It acts as a psychological shield. It lowers what we call your affective filter.
When you are playing a character, any mistakes belong to the character, not to you.
Right.
It removes the personal embarrassment, making it so much easier to speak loudly and confidently. For example, think about the action movie Taken.
Oh, a classic thriller.
Do you remember the famous actor Liam Neeson?
Of course.
He has this incredibly intense, quiet speech he gives over the phone to the villains. He says, and listeners, try to imagine his deep, serious, gravelly voice. He says, I don't know who you are, I don't have money, but what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
It is a highly dramatic, cinematic moment. But if we analyze it from an English learner's perspective, it is a brilliant exercise for mastering basic grammar and complex pronunciation.
It really is.
Think about the simple phrase, I don't have money.
It is just the absolute basic present simple tense. Beginners learn that in their first week.
But when you perform it like Liam Neeson, with all that intense emotion and weight behind the words, it stops feeling like a boring textbook drill. It feels completely alive.
Alive and real.
Let's look at the harder word in that sentence, particular. Particular. Notice how the P pops at the front of the mouth. P, particular.
Let's have the listeners try it. Put on your best, most serious action hero voice. Really lean into the character. I will say it slowly, but what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
Perform it one more time. Make that P pop.
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
Beautiful. You are learning how to put emotional weight behind the vocabulary. And you do not just have to use movies. Poetry is equally fantastic for this.
Because poems have a strict mathematical rhythm built right into them.
Yes. The rhythm of a poem is designed to physically carry the speaker forward. Think of the classic American poet Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, yes.
He wrote a dark, famous poem called The Raven.
Very spooky imagery.
Very spooky. The opening lines go like this. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. When you memorize and recite lines like that, the natural bouncing rhythm of the words forces your speaking muscles to stress the correct syllables.
Because the rhythm simply will not let you say it flatly.
Exactly. It creates a safe, structured space for your voice to grow in power.
Wow. We have covered an incredible amount of ground today, diving deep into the mechanics of solo practice. Let's do a quick recap of the 5 methods for our listeners who are ready to build their daily routine.
Good idea. First, we explored shadowing, using the auditory feedback loop to mimic the exact sounds and intonation of a role model.
Second, reading out loud, slowing down to physically process the grammar and see the underlying structure of the language.
Third, visualizing, imagining real-world situations like ordering coffee to trigger and overcome the stress response before you ever leave your house.
Fourth, singing a song, building vocal stamina and absorbing the deep cultural heart of English through music.
And finally, practicing poems and monologues, using the shield of a character to add deep emotion, weight, and rhythm to your speaking voice.
The ultimate takeaway from all of this is clear. Not having a speaking partner is never, ever an excuse to stop exercising those speaking muscles.
Never.
You possess all the tools you need to make incredible, lasting progress right in your own bedroom.
And as we finish our deep dive today, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
I want you to think deeply about the voice you use in your native language. How do you naturally sound when you speak your mother tongue? Are you shy? Are you loud? Now compare that to the voice you are currently building in English, because you get to practice entirely alone without anyone judging you or hearing your mistakes. You have complete freedom to invent exactly who you want to be. So which character will you choose to become when you speak English today?
What a beautiful question. You get to choose and build your own English identity. If you enjoyed listening to us, comment where you're from and tell us if you found this helpful. Keep practicing, keep speaking out loud, and keep exercising those muscles. We will catch you on the next deep dive.